Maverick News presents The Rick Walker Show. Defrag your mind.
Good evening, Maverick family and new viewers from all around the world. Welcome back to the Maverick News channel. We have so much to talk about tonight, and I'm going to try to keep my sanity because the world has gone loopy. I swear. It's just off the charts insane. I'm not sure where to begin. I guess we begin in Hawaii tonight. In fact, we'll go live right now to Joe Biden in a helicopter in Hawaii. He's about to go meet with victims in the Maui disaster. Here's just some footage of the chopper on the pavement tonight live. Here he is, the commander-in-chief. Do a little audio here. I've been monitoring this for a while, off and on, trying to. Nice camera work there, guy. All over the place. I'm getting seasick looking at that. A lot of other stuff to talk about tonight, too. But there, I did watch Biden get off Air Force One, come down the stairs. He didn't trip, as far as I saw. And sauntered over to the helicopter. He'll be going to meet with the victims, so we don't have to stay. I'm not going to stay on that shot. Oh, my goodness. So where are we at? Okay, here we go. He's actually off the chopper. There was a delay on this, so let's see where we're at live here. There he is, has his baseball cap on, his back to the camera, of course. So he's landed, I guess, is what I'm gathering from this. I haven't been able to watch every moment of it because I've been getting ready for the broadcast, but he's there to survey the damage and do what the president is, supposed to do, if he actually does what he's supposed to do tonight. So we'll certainly talk about this. I have so many other things to talk about tonight, too. Oh, man, this camera work. Oh, my goodness. It's just a raw feed coming out, so I apologize for the feed. We'll pick it up again when we can, when we get some stabilized video. It's just because it's a raw feed, so the cameraman is just moving around, getting back into a proper position and so on. We're going to talk about this Facebook censorship and the war of words that has erupted. Really, well, it's not even a war of words. It's a one-sided battle at this point. Justin Trudeau calling out Facebook, Meta. It's all optics, man. I'm telling you. And the public is being duped. People need to be very careful about what they do in the days ahead, and who they support, why they and figure out why you're supporting which side, if any, in this dispute between the Canadian government and Meta. I'll get into it. It's not what people think. They're so good at sort of manipulating people. There's no good side. There's no good option on this. They've got you coming and going, and I'll explain why later on in the in the broadcast. What else do we have for you tonight? So we're going to talk about these wildfires a bit. And I know people are scared because of them. I totally get it. But chin up. We'll get into that. Ron to Jubenville, back into the thick of things. Today in Canada, in my hometown, she's on the front lines again, trying to do good things, challenging these new powers that they want to give to mayors in my part of the world here, extraordinary powers to local mayors. So she's kind of like questioning that, and they were discussing it at a great big convention today in my hometown, not where I live now, but just up the highway. They had all the mayors from all over this part of the country all come together in one place. It's called the Association of Municipalities of Ontario, and they were talking about a lot of different issues. One of the issues, not just about the special mayor's powers that the premier is looking at giving the mayors. Also in Toronto, the mayor there wants to impose a new sales tax just in Toronto. That's unconstitutional. And it would be precedent setting. It would be, in my view, very dangerous. Okay, so we'll talk about that. Pat King had his, freedom fighter. He was supposed to go to court. His thing has been delayed. Trump's going to skip the presidential or the GOP debate coming up. And they've posted bond for him now of $200,000 in his legal battle in Georgia. As I say, Biden's down there in Hawaii. Jim Acosta, CNN. He's flabbergasted because of what's going on with Trump. Show you that. We'll talk about splintering of support. Yeah, and also back to Rhonda. Okay, she also, somebody really doesn't like her, and I've just about had it up to here. So I'm going to give you a little editorial on what I think of what the Church of Satan is. I've said enough. Okay, that teases it enough. This is what I'm saying. The world has gone insane. Absolutely nuts. I don't know. Aliens, UFOs, superpowered Klingon disruptor beams from outer space, blah, 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 blah. Jeff Bezos has a giant spaceship. I don't know. It's just, okay, everything I'm saying sounds very disjointed. That's because everything is so crazy tonight. We'll get back to the senile old man in Hawaii when we come back. Stay with me. I've got a lot to talk about and a lot to share with you. And maybe we'll get to the phones, and maybe you'll have some things to say tonight as well. But man, it is just a stacked show. So do not go away.
The New World Order. Government overreach. The Great Reset. Mainstream media lies. Now more than ever, independent voices are needed. Donate now, at freedomreporters.com. That's freedomreporters.com. Maverick News. The antivirus program. For your mind.
Hello, world. Are you awake? uniting humankind by liberating millions of minds at a time. Maverick News. The world is watching.
Okay, so Biden, we're just waiting for him to come over to the news conference area. He is going to walk up to a podium and tell us stuff. What that stuff is, I don't know. I have no idea if what he is going to say tonight will even make any sense. We'll just have to wing it. So they have the podium set up right now in front of a bunch of burned out trees and stuff. Here, I'll show you. They're doing a sound check, getting ready for the El Presidente to come over and say his thing. In front of this apocalyptic scene. And it is a bad situation. Through it all, though, I think it's important to keep perspective on this stuff. I've had people messaging me in the last, couple of days in particular, very discouraged because of these wildfires. They, I get it. They're scared. People are watching this stuff. They don't think the government is providing enough support. Some people believe the government is doing things intentionally to hurt people here. I get it, man. People don't trust the government. There's all this speculation about how these fires may or may not have started, not just in Hawaii, but in Canada. I totally get it. And the fires continue to burn. But, and a very good friend messaged me overnight, convinced that, they're witnessing the end of times. I understand the fear, but my goodness, these are forest fires. People have endured pretty horrendous things through history. We went through World War II. Millions of people died. Millions and millions of people died. Tens of millions. And the worst conflict known to mankind. They dropped 2 nuclear bombs. 2. Those bombs alone killed hundreds of thousands of people. Incinerated them in an instant, in the blink of an eye. And I have people around me who want to shut down, who are so scared they just want to curl up in the corner in a fetal position and give up because of some forest fires. Regardless of what the cause might be, we can't do that. We have to keep going. We have people to help, things to rebuild. We need to figure out exactly what happened, what went wrong, and work toward preventing it from happening in the future. And to do that, we need absolute, real facts, truth. As much as we can get to the bottom of these things, we have to try. And we have to keep moving forward. Can't give up. Cannot give up. You think these people in Maui are going to give up? I know they're real estate speculators down there, scumbags, carpetbaggers moving into the area, scooping up land, trying to buy up land for pennies on the dollar from people who have been burned out, who have nothing left. That's the way the world is. Regardless of the system in place in any country, people buy low, sell high. Some scumbags always move in and to take advantage of disasters. When there's a stock market crash, a lot of people suffer because they lose sometimes everything. And then people who still have assets move in and buy up those depreciated stocks for pennies on the dollar. And when the price turns around, it comes back up, they make a killing, literally. That's the way the world is. It doesn't mean all the time that the people who cash in are the ones who caused the problem. But in the end, I suppose it doesn't really matter because some people win, some people lose, and the world isn't a fair place. And the government should step in an incident like this and come to the aid of people. That's part of what government is supposed to be about. The government itself, I don't think, is necessarily supposed to be an insurance company, but in a moment of tragedy such as this, the government needs to step up, and people have lost faith in government. Of course they have, especially during a time like this. And that's why we're seeing things like, well, let me show you this here tonight. This is, Trader Joe must go is the sign out in front of this place in Hawaii. I don't know if President Biden will have seen this tonight as he makes his way down to the news conference area. But here it is. Here's a little video to show you what people are thinking there. And I get it. I totally get it. No, that's the wrong. There we go. Here we go. Trader Joe must go. Straight up. And that's because, and I don't know if this figure is accurate, but what's been reported there in social media is that right now the federal government, I guess, is only offering up about $700 per person. But I don't know if that's accurate. We'll see what Biden has to say tonight. I don't know what ultimately is going to happen down there. I know that the response from government so far has been woefully inadequate. And the people are suffering, and some people are trying to take advantage of those who are at their most vulnerable point right now. And that's not right. And that's the way a lot of these things work. And there's a lot of speculation as to who's behind what and what's motivating what. Bottom line is there are people in need, and that's what we need to focus on right now, right? Getting people some help. We can't give up. As bad as things seem, we can't give up. And Trudeau tonight was in Prince Edward Island today. And this is what he has to say. I believe this is, about the wildfires. We've got a few things with Trudeau. We're going to get into this Facebook issue with him too. So there's a fair bit to cover with Trudeau tonight. I really want to get into that, the Facebook thing. But here's Justin talking about the wildfires in Canada today. Hang on, let me get the speed right. Here we go. Justin Trudeau on the wildfires.
So much to Canadians,
Canada.
But obviously, even as we're digging into affordability and housing and other things, these wildfires are a pressing concern. We will be hosting an IRG this afternoon to make sure that the federal government is continuing to do everything necessary to keep people safe and coordinate with the provinces. Our Minister of Emergency Preparedness, Harjit Sajjan, will be there at the IRG virtually because he's chosen to stay home in British Columbia to lead the federal efforts there while he participates at distance from this cabinet retreat because the coordination with the province, the being there on the ground for people is unbelievably important. I also have to say that being there on the ground for people and seeing how Canadians are responding to this is inspiring. And I see it right across the country, from Nova Scotia, where I visited there, to Alberta, to Quebec, to BC and the Northwest Territories. Canadians step up for each other. And yes, our first responders, our Canadian Armed Forces are extraordinary. Our firefighters across the country are doing incredible things, and indeed welcoming people from around the world to help out. But Canadians as well, looking out for their neighbors, supporting strangers from their community, opening up, welcoming in into their homes people from other provinces, from other regions. It has been the very best of Canada that we've seen through these difficult times, through this incredibly difficult summer. And I just want to say how inspiring it is to know that no matter how bad things get, Canadians are going to continue to be there for each other. And people have questions about whether they've lost their homes, about whether they need to evacuate, about how things are going. And that's where local news is so important. And the work that people are doing to share messages and keep people informed with safe, up-to-date information is unbelievably essential to keeping Canadians safe. That's why, and I'm going to make a comment on this, it is so inconceivable that a company like Facebook is choosing to put corporate profits ahead of ensuring that local news organizations can get up-to-date information to Canadians and reach them where Canadians spend a lot of their time, online, on social media, on Facebook. Facebook made billions of dollars in profits over the past years, including off of Canadians. And we recently passed legislation that says, Facebook, if you're going to be sharing news or work done by Canadian journalists or local news, you have to make sure they're compensated for it fairly. Well, instead of making sure that local journalists are fairly paid for keeping Canadians informed on things like wildfires, Facebook is blocking news from its sites. In a larger picture, that's bad for democracy because democracy depends on people being able to trust high-quality journalism of all sorts of different perspectives and points of view. But right now, in an emergency situation, where up-to-date local information is more important than ever, Facebook's putting corporate profits ahead of people's safety, ahead of supporting quality local journalism. This is not the time for that. This is the time for Canadians to continue to pull together and be there for each other. It's time for us to expect more from corporations like Facebook that are making billions of dollars off of Canadians.
Okay. While we wait for Biden, let me comment. Suddenly now he's worried about free speech and a free media. This is Mr. Censorship. Bill C-11 is all about censorship. That's the other bill that is forcing social media companies to push mainstream legacy media outlets that are government funded and to become basically a mouthpiece for Mr. Trudeau up in the algorithm in the search engine results and suppress independent voices, independent media outlets like this one. Now, C-18, that's the one that Meta, Facebook, Instagram is responding to. That's why they're blocking the news content. It's not because they wanted to. It's because they're responding to the legislation that the government introduced. Now, Trudeau is trying to portray himself as a champion of the people, a champion of free speech, a champion of free media by digging in his heels and opposing the social media giants fighting for the people. Horse hockey. This is about power on the government side, and it's about profits on the social media side. There's no good middle ground here for the general public, except to have the government back the heck off, rescind the legislation, and let the free market prevail. This is the result of government manipulation. This is the result of the government trying to control a corporation. through regulation and the threat of financial penalties and even other legal ramifications potentially. This has everything about it. Everything about this reeks of economic fascism. That's why in the thumbnail tonight, it's like fascism or fascism, and underneath it says fascism. Because this is what economic fascism is. It's the government allowing private companies to control or operate major corporations, big companies, but controlling them through financial incentives and penalties and regulatory legislation. And this has had the unintended consequence of imposing an unprecedented level of censorship on the people, because the company is responding by saying, wait a minute, we're a private enterprise or a private company. The government doesn't get to dictate to us what we do or how we do it. You don't dictate content to us. It's like going to the shopping mall and saying, hey, shopping mall, you must have, I don't know, a watch store. But maybe the operator of the mall doesn't want a watch store. Or it's like going to the owner of the watch store and saying you must carry Seiko. You must carry Seiko. But maybe you don't want to carry Seiko. There's nothing to compel you to do that, but that's what the government is doing here. So I totally get it. Now, it's unfortunate that people are now being served less well. But that's not to say that Facebook is the only place where you can get news content. And that's not to say that Facebook is the place actually to get your information about emergency messaging from the fire department. Like they can use social media, but they also have websites and other ways to get the messaging out. It's dangerous to have the government compel any company or individual to do anything like this. You must carry this content, and if you do, you will pay. You must buy this. It's improper. It's authoritarian. Facebook doesn't care. All Facebook cares about is the profit. That is true. But on the other side of the equation, this is the government, this is Trudeau trying to wrestle control of this powerful social media platform away from the company itself to have it within the government's grasp, to manipulate you and me and society with their news content that they bought and paid for with government grants and subsidies through the mainstream legacy media. It's not right. Huh. And then he stands up there and pretends he's like your champion. He's taken on the social media giants because they're just greedy corporate profit hunters, profiteers, profiting it when the country is most in need. Oh, you really have the best interest of the concerns of the people in mind? I don't think so. It's all about the power, folks. It's all about the power. The control. And now we're seeing the Friends of Canadian Broadcasting stepping up. Let me just check in on Biden here and see if where we're at with that. Make sure that we're not missing this news here. Okay, he's arrived. It appears he's arrived. See if we got audio. Okay, let's go to this. Let's go back to Hawaii. I'll come back to this meta stuff and the feud with. Hang on. I need to punch the right buttons to get this up on the screen. Here we go. Okay, he's meeting with the people now.
Of them were houses.
Here we go.
Housing support. But we know you're with us, and we feel. We're just so honored that you have the time and compassion for our people.
We're doing a lot of states, FEMA director now, from Mexico, coast, Washington State, Washington, Montana, and we've seen more structures even part of our ground than the entire state of Maryland.
So there's it's really hard to hear this. If you're just listening, it's difficult. If you are watching, there are some subtitles. We should get to the news conference momentarily. I'm going to put the link to the Rumble channel in the chat area here for you folks. If you want to watch on Rumble, this will be where to go.
Still, you guys want to come over here? Still.
Excuse me.
So tonight we're broadcasting on both of our Rumble channels. I just put the link in there for you. We have YouTube, three YouTube channels. Lori's YouTube channel is up. Both Twitter accounts, the Maverick account, Lori's carrying it on her Twitter account. You can see it on my personal Facebook page. Lori started her personal Facebook page. You can see it over there. And we're on both of our Rumble channels. Main Rumble channel is now in the chat. So if you're on YouTube, please consider subscribing to our channel over on Rumble. It's important. That's where we need to grow. And I was digging in a little bit more into this censorship issue here in Canada, and even these links within the next number of days, links sharing news content like this on Facebook platforms will soon be blocked as well, apparently, on Facebook. So even the stuff you'll be able to see tonight on these pages, you will not be able to see in probably within the next week or so. So it's taken Biden quite a while just to get down there to Hawaii. But yeah, our news page on Facebook is blocked, along with all news content from Canada and the US. If it's designated as an actual news organization, they block it. So that's why you can't find our main Facebook page. I'll have solutions for that in the next day or two for everyone. At least some options for you. I should be able to kind of lay that out for you tomorrow, I think. And You can still watch us tonight on YouTube and Rumble. The rebroadcast over on BitChute, CloudHub, UgeTube, that's UGE Tube. We have a growing number of people watching over there. I'm just going to share this out also right now on other social media platforms so people know where we are broadcasting from.
Our son was right, yeah. So we feel like your family.
What's the boss's name?
There we go. So you can see these. I guess that's obviously a dog being used to search for survivors and victims.
You guys catch the boots out here? That's a hot ground, man.
Hello to everybody.
All right, Chris, we're going to jump ahead to the next spot, okay, guys? Thank you. Take care. We're going to present for a march, Chris. Thank you so much. Thanks, guys.
I'll grab.
All right, Chris, I'll grab.
So they're chasing Biden around out there. We'll pull back out of this feed from the Independent. And independent media more important now than ever before, which is why we need your support here at the Maverick News channel. In the face of all this censorship that we're enduring and what we're going to have to do to work around that. So back to what's going on with Trudeau and Meta. Friends of Canadian Broadcasting, they are organizing a Facebook boycott for it later this week. Excuse me, I have to mute some of this audio. It's just there. Wow. That was loud in my headphones. You couldn't hear it, but I sure could. Friends of Canadian Broadcasting. Let me show you what they've got. They want you to boycott Facebook and I think Instagram as well for 2 days this week. And they want everybody to go black, go dark, I guess is what the phrase is that they are using. I have to find the tab again here. Believe. There it is right there. Okay, I've got the website here for you so you can see what their campaign looks like. And so some of you may want to do this. I mean, your choice, but you should understand what this really is. Okay, Friends of Canadian Broadcasting boycott Meta and support Canadian news. Sounds fantastic. So on the 23rd, they want everybody to go dark. Act now, it says. Can you see that? There it is. It's on the screen. So let's click on Act Now and see what happens. There it is. I have to switch the tab here so you can see the new page that it opened. So when you click on that, you get now you get this. And I'll read this for you. Come on. Get it on the screen. There we go. It's a little sluggish. It's time to turn the lights out on Meta. On June 22nd, the Online News Act officially became law in Canada, but rather than finally pay their fair share for content created by Canadian news publishers, Meta has decided to pull the plug on your access to Canadian news on Facebook and Instagram. And throwing their weight around like this, Meta is betting that Canadians will keep flocking back to their platforms, no matter how much disdain they demonstrate for our laws and for our news media. But what if we stood up to their bullying once and for all? What if we didn't come back? On August 23rd and 24th, join us in Going Dark on Facebook and Instagram. That may seem like an eternity in social media time, but to Meta, it will seem even longer. At the end of the day, our eyeballs on their platforms are the most valuable commodity Meta has. So let's hit them where it hurts. Meta needs to understand that if our news goes, we go. Tackling the full might of Silicon Valley head on will be no small feat. If we're going to turn the tables on Meta, our elected officials need to do their part. So write to your MP today and tell them to join our 48-hour boycott of Facebook and Instagram. We need our representatives in Ottawa to help deliver the message that Canadians won't be pushed around by foreign big tech companies. And you can sign up here, give them your contact info so they can send you information. And then it's got this message to your member of parliament. Who are these guys? Well, they're advocates for the big broadcasters. That's what they are. They've been around for quite a long time. They are a mouthpiece for all the big media companies. Friends of Canadian broadcasting. I know who they are. What's their mission? It says, is that page up there for you to see? Here it is. What's their mission? Friends is a nonpartisan, people-powered movement that stands up for Canadian voices in public broadcasting, news media, and culture. A strong CBC, fearless journalism, and our shared story make us who we are. But if our stories disappear, so do we. That's why Friends conducts leading-edge policy and opinion research on issues affecting Canadian culture and media and works tirelessly so that Ottawa understands that millions of Canadians demand our government restores our public broadcaster, CBC, already funded by the Canadian taxpayers, millions and millions of dollars every year, defends Canadian journalism and supports great Canadian stories on air and online. Friends is a not-for-profit organization that is not funded by government money or donations from political parties or entities regulated by the Canadian Radio, Television, and Telecommunications Commission, CRTC. So they want you to donate so that they can go to bat for the big broadcasting companies, CBC, CTV, and others, global. Because, they can't afford to support this themselves. So they want you to pay for it. Friends is people-powered. We are a not-for-profit advocacy organization and are not funded by government money or donations from political parties or CRTC-regulated entities. We fight back against some of the biggest corporations in the world, as well as government inaction, all thanks to people like you. When you invest in our work, you're standing up for Canadian voices and the big broadcasting companies. I can tell you that, I don't think the Friends of Canadian Broadcasting have done a single thing to help independent media ever. Not in my estimation. They are an organization that was strongly behind the regulations that led to I'm just checking into the Biden thing again. That led to all kinds of regulations for, cable companies and revenue sharing and Canadian content laws and this kind of stuff, right? And even, CanCon for radio stations. They're not about the free market. And I think that, it's fair game to say, and it's fair to say that in some respects they've had some positive impacts on Canadian broadcasting, Canadian media in general, in some ways. But it's all about regulation with them, and it excludes independent voices. It always has. They're there to support the CBC, Canadian Broadcasting Corporation, largely, and make sure that they get the funding that they want from the federal government to not just survive, but to grow. And that's what this is all about. This is about supporting the big legacy media companies, which I know most of you in our audience don't even trust anymore. And why would we? They get all this government money. They're controlled. And that's what this battle is all about. This is not virtuous. This is about money and power. Facebook, they're not pure in this. It's all about the money. They don't even care. They've proven they don't care about free speech, free media. They'll censor it, no problem. The government tells them what to do, no problem. Facebook is a tool of the government. They've been a tool of the government for a long time now. Shut down these pages. Don't let people talk about that. Censor this message. That's not Facebook, man. That's the government telling Facebook, Meta, Instagram what to do, who to censor, and on what subject matter. And they don't care as long as they make their profit and they keep their immunity from prosecution for material that people post that they don't have immediate direct control over as a publisher would. So they're immune from the kind of prosecution that a publishing company is subject to in certain instances. They want to keep that immunity. But they don't care. They just want the profit. They'll censor. They'll do whatever the government tells them to do. They will fall into line. They've proven that that's the case. We've seen the evidence down in the United States and the way that the Biden administration is directly controlling what Facebook is doing. Even, a lot of that even started when Trump was in office, president. And it continues today, even though they're having this feud with the federal government. But this is about now ultimate control. Not just the ultimate control, but this is Facebook saying, yeah, we don't want to pay the money. We don't want to pay. And it's not our mandate or obligation to be the platform or one of the main platforms to distribute your emergency information or truly your news and propaganda. We're still a private company. And if we don't want to carry something, we shouldn't have to carry it. We're not obligated to do it. And they shouldn't be. I agree with that. Not if you have an actual free market, a free society. And now they're trying to shame Meta and into carrying this government-funded content, which they want to have funded as well by the social media platforms. How much money do these platforms need? So they want everything in their favor for these mainstream legacy media companies and for the government. They want to be able to sell advertising. They want border protection from foreign competition, like U.S. broadcasters. They don't want to have to go head to head. They have territorial geographical boundaries on where programming is viewed already. So if CBC or CTV buys the rights, it's mainly CTV and Global. When they buy the rights to U.S. programming, the Canadian companies get to keep all the revenue from that. There's cable blackout, what they call cable substitution. So if you have cable, you have to watch the Canadian signals. They'll actually substitute the Canadian channels where U.S. channels sit on the channel lineup. So it flips over to the Canadian signal. You probably don't even realize this. It flips over to the Canadian signal, so you have to watch the Canadian channel when they're running the same programming during prime time. So you have to watch the Canadian commercials. I kind of get it, but that's also because they purchased the rights in the particular area, and the government forces the cable companies to do it through the CRTC, and that's also a Friends of Canadian Broadcasting thing that they advocate for. So you've got all that. You have their ad revenue. You have now there's, then they said, well, there's too much competition from social media. So we need government funding. So they get the funding from that. And now they want the social media companies to pay them too, on top of all that. And if you take a company like CTV, which is vertically integrated, that's Bell Media. They own probably half the radio stations, half the television stations, half of the internet infrastructure, a whole bunch of the specialty channels. They control virtually everything. They cell phone companies, cell phone towers. They own a bunch of the other brands that you think are competing brands. It's just Bell, Bell, Bell. Virgin, that's Bell. How much do they need? How much? How far does this have to go? And now they want Meta to pay as well. So I totally get it, man. Okay, let's go back to Biden. Here we go. Live. Here he is.
Loans available to Hawaiian businesses. Many
There
of
he
them
is.
we've seen here burned to the ground. Homeowners and renters and nonprofits. If you need help, you can visit FEMA's Disaster Recovery Center at Maui College or go to disasterassistance.gov. Disasterassistance.gov. Today, I'm appointing Bob Fenton, who's here. Where are you, Bob? There he is. I'm appointing Bob Fenton as our Chief Federal Response Coordinator for Maui to lead our long-term recovery work. He's one of the nation's most experienced disaster response and recovery experts in America. And I'm directing him to make sure the community has everything the federal government can offer to heal and to rebuild as fast as possible. And we're focused on what's next. That's rebuilding the long term, rebuilding for long term, and doing it together to help get us back on our feet, to rebuild the way we want to rebuild, by making sure your voices are heard, by respecting your traditions, by understanding the deep history and meaning of this sacred ground, and establishing your community not to change its character, but reestablish it. We're also going to bring capabilities to help you rebuild so your critical infrastructure is more resilient in the future. All this matters. Let me close with this. From stories of grief, we've seen so many stories of hope and heroism, of the aloha spirit. Every emergency responder put their lives on the line for us, save others. Everyday heroes, neighbors helping neighbors, Native Hawaiian leaders offering solace and strength. And this banyan tree, one called it the diamond in the rough of hope. Another referred to fire cannot reach its roots, what he said. Fire cannot reach its roots. That's Maui. That's America. And to the people of Hawaii, we're with you for as long as it takes, I promise you. May God bless all those we've lost. May God find those who we haven't determined yet. And may God bless you all. May God protect our troops. Now I'm going to happy to turn this over to the governor, Governor Green.
Thank you, Mr. President. Before my formal remarks, which are brief, I wanted to say that I was deeply moved by the president as he shared with us by phone about his experiences of loss and how Senator Inouye helped bring him back, and how as time has passed, he's back here with us in Hawaii. You could feel a deep, deep commitment to playing that forward and caring for our people. So thank you, Mr. President. Friends, we've been through so much together in recent years, We had 3 years of the COVID pandemic, which left us isolated. We've had volcanic eruptions in 2018 and 22, which ravaged Big Island. And there are scars here in our people's lives from opioids and homelessness. But none of this has been as tragic as the fire in Lahaina, which over these past 13 days has come down on us like a mountain. The amount of loss we've experienced in such a short time will be difficult for us to even fathom, but we'll hold each other up. Our hearts are broken and we'll heal. But with the assistance of President Biden, the federal government, and the love and compassion and resources throughout our state, we know we have the support. Those who will deal with the tragedy. The president, within 6 hours, met our needs with the federal movement. 6 hours. I don't think that's ever happened before. So it's our deepest appreciation to you and Dr. Biden. Thank you. The people of Lahaina will need time, we know, to heal, to recover, to grieve. And thank you, Mr. President, for understanding that and for sharing, as we've shared, that Lahaina belongs to its people, and we're committed to rebuilding the way the people of Lahaina want. We want to emphasize that again. This land is for the people of Maui, and it's reserved as they return and rebuild. So we've instructed, with the wisdom of the president and the wisdom of other first responders and FEMA, to reach out to our Attorney General and enhance criminal penalties for those who would take advantage of our victims. She will share more about that in coming days. Right now, I want to speak to the world. When I say this, of course, no one can travel to West Maui right now. We will share when that is possible again. Only returning residents and authorized emergency relief workers should come here now. But all of the other areas of Maui, friends, and the rest of Hawaii are safe. They're open, they're available. The mystique and love here, the aloha, is here for you. And the reason I say that is because when you come, you will support our local economy and help speed the recovery of the people that are suffering right now. The thousands and thousands of family members that may have had loss who will still have to care for the others that remain. Briefly, to support those who have been affected by the fire, the American Red Cross has stepped up. Please support them. They're supporting our people. The Hawaii Community Foundation, again, another place you can lean in. We will assure that those resources go to the people that are suffering. Finally, there may never be another time in our state's history, ever, when we need to summon the spirit of aloha as deeply as we summon it today. So for the good of everyone who has been impacted, share aloha. Thank you for making that a part of what we are. The world is watching, and we will show them the true strength of our culture, our people, and all that we believe. And as they watch us heal, protect, and nurture one another, the world will be reminded why it loves and embraces Hawaii, and we embrace it. Aloha. Got too emotional. Next, I'm honored to introduce Brian Schatz, a dear friend and our senator.
Aloha. Although we wish the circumstances were different, we do want to say mahalo to the President and the First Lady and welcome for making this historic trip in our time of need. We in Hawaii have been through hurricanes, tsunamis, volcanic eruptions, but we've never seen such a robust federal response. Thank you. Lahaina is one of the most special places on the planet. It was the seat of power for the Hawaiian Kingdom. It was a whaling town. It was a plantation town. And most recently, a vibrant, multicultural coastal community. And it was gone in an instant. These fires have completely devastated families and communities, and the loss is unimaginable. We mourn parents, grandparents, and kids, aunties and uncles, friends and neighbors. To the first responders who put their own lives at risk to save others, and to everyone on Maui who has been working around the clock to help this community while your own lives have been turned upside down. Mahalo. Please know that we are going to do everything we can to get you the help that you need. This is the deadliest natural disaster that Hawaii has ever seen, and as a result, this is the biggest federal response that Hawaii has ever seen. But we will need more support from everyone. The Maui community will pull together and chart its own future, but the scope of this tragedy means that we will need everyone in Hawaii and across the country. The work will continue, and we will be there every step of the way. I'd now like to introduce my partner in the United States Senate, Mazie Hirono.
Mr. President, First Lady, thank you so much for being here to listen to the local people and to see for yourself the devastation that will require a lot of federal resources. Mr. President, you and Vice President Kamala Harris were among the first people to call me in the early days of this growing disaster. And the fires that raced through this town consumed practically everything in its path. Lives were lost. Our hearts go out to all of the people who lost loved ones and who lost everything in a matter of minutes. I was at the County Collection Distribution Center earlier this morning in the Sears parking lot. And what this devastation has led to are the people of Maui coming forward to donate their time, their resources, their homes to help their neighbors. And I even saw tourists who were helping, volunteering at this center, at this collection facility in the last days of their vacations here because they know that their help would matter. And of course, the federal family of agencies, starting with FEMA. Bob, you have been through many of these disasters. You are a person who will help us recover. So all of our family of federal agencies, FEMA, the Department of Defense, Interior, HUD, Army Corps of Engineers, SBA, they were all here from the very beginning to provide the help that we need. And my hope is that Lahaina and the upcountry will rebuild in a way that we will listen to the people here. And that hope is represented by this banyan tree that stands here. Well, all around things burn, the banyan tree stands, and it is a symbol of hope. And when I talked with the arborist who is here to make sure that this tree survives, he said that the tree will tell us what it needs, and our job is to listen. And that is our job, to listen to the people of Maui, to listen to the people of Lahaina as we rebuild. Mahalo nui loa to all of you who are here, and most especially to the President, First Lady. We will rebuild, and we will rebuild listening to the voices and the values of the people here. Now I turn to Jill Takuda, our newest member.
Thank you, Senator Hirono. You know, we all stand here and we can feel the intense heat coming down on us. And I can tell you, it breaks my heart to think about just how hot it was here to do the damage that we see less than 2 weeks ago. All of our hearts breaking for what has happened here and the loss that we've experienced. Mr. President, First Lady Biden, mahalo, not only for your presence here today, but for the love and aloha you have shown our Maui Ohana from the very, very beginning. Your actions from the earliest days of this tragedy, your visit here today demonstrates your commitment and connection with our local community. This is a national disaster. It will demand a national response. You being here with us, connecting with our community, makes that absolutely clear. The banyan tree that we stand in front of has become an iconic symbol of our heartbreak and our hope. The pain we feel as we recall happier times under her branches, our undying hope that under the charred and scarred exterior, there is still life and renewal. And while this tree is a symbol, her roots, our people, have been scattered far and wide. And while we go here and we look and we search, we know that so many of her roots, her people, still wait here to be found. Others, not often seen, are in places like the beaches of Honokawai, the homesteads of Leali'i, gathered in shelters in our communities, clinging together. I have spent time among her roots, our people, spread out across Maui. And like the urgent care and attention being given to our beloved banyan tree, her roots, our people, need that same urgent care and attention. They need everything from basic identification and documents, tents and water trailers, mental health care. We can heal the body, but this takes so much longer to recover from something like this. Basic Wi-Fi connections, air quality monitoring and testing, especially for many who still live in and around these areas. The needs are great, but so are the struggles of courage. I've sat and hugged a wife still looking for her husband till this day. I've heard of a child who does not want to leave the ocean because he thinks the fires will burn him. And I've seen the fear on the face of a survivor in their eyes because the wind blew too hard and it took her back to that moment. We know some of our most difficult days still lie before us. It's going to be long. It's going to leave us feeling heavy with loss, frustrated, angry that we can't move faster. But if our roots, our people are to not just survive, but thrive, if there is to actually be renewal and life beneath these scars, these burns, then we must all draw, as has been said, on the wisdom of our kupuna and the lessons that they have taught us to live and lead with aloha and lokahi. We must remember that our strength is in our connections to one another, our ability to communicate and care with each other. The challenge we face before us will no doubt test our aloha. But if there's one thing I know absolutely 110% for sure, aloha always wins. Mahalo. I now bring up Mayor Bisson for some words.
Mr. President, Dr. Biden, First Lady. Aloha winala kako. We are hurting because so many have lost so much. We are hurting because we know we have changed forever. We're hurting because not only we've lost our historical places and our homes, but we've lost our loved ones. This is a historical town. There's much to be learned from this place. Just behind me is the Pioneer Inn here on Maui. My mom worked there for 17 years. In the 70s and the 80s, I would spend much time here with her. That courthouse there is the original Lahaina courthouse. As a young prosecutor in 1987, I started my career in that courtroom. There's much memories for all of us, and that's why we hurt, because we don't have those anymore. But what we do have is help. All the help that's been mentioned by every person standing here, and more importantly, the heroes there facing horror and going after that. And that's the reason we can move forward. It's because we have the help. The community has come together. And when I say community, I mean the world's community, not just Maui, not just Hawaii, not just the United States of America, but all countries have come forward to help us. We brought that together. So what that leaves us with is hope. We have hope that we can put this together as we comfort those who have hurt so much and we try to heal. And so again, I'm here on behalf of the people of the county of Maui, Molokai, Lanai, to thank every one of you who have given to us, who have donated, who have offered their services, and especially the leaders behind me, who in each of their own ways have also helped us. And I want to just say how responsive the president has been. He called yesterday, asked for the help we needed. We talked a little bit about that, and within 2 hours, one of his cabinet members called me back to answer my question. So we've been getting all the help that we need, again, because we want to let our people know that there is hope. Mahalo.
Thank
Thanks, you guys.
So that's the news conference. And I think that's pretty much the nuts and the bolts of it. How everything will ultimately work out in the end, I don't know. But understandably, Biden facing a lot of criticism. Some feeling that far too slow to respond. I don't think that he was nearly compassionate enough in some of the ways that I think his lack of response to media questions over the last number of days, actually saying no comment when asked to comment about it, doesn't instill a lot of confidence. But you saw what he did today. You can make your own assessment. Decide for yourselves. Stay with me. I'll be right back. More to come right after this.
The New World Order. Government overreach. The Great Reset. Mainstream media lies. Now more than ever, independent voices are needed. Donate now at freedomreporters.com. That's freedomreporters.com. Maverick News. The antivirus program for your mind.
Okay, and we'll go back to Trudeau because there was more that he had to say today on the wildfire situation in Canada. Also, I can tell you that right now it looks like the actual number of people still missing in Maui, Lahaina, 850. And we are now at, I believe, 114 confirmed dead. Only 27 of those people have actually been identified. And we'll bring up the Prime Minister of Canada now talking about the wildfires again, answering questions from media. Actually, hang on a second here. We've already had that clip. Here he is talking. I think he gets into it maybe a little bit here too, but also in the wake of everything that's been going on, he was asked today a strange, maybe not such a strange question, but as he prepares to go for a fourth term in office to get Canadians to vote for a fourth Liberal term, which is pretty tough to do. He was asked today if he might actually be a liability to the party. Some people think it's maybe time for Justin to go. Let's listen to what he had to say about that.
Just this is unrelated, but this past weekend I was camping with my family, and there was a vehicle that was a part of our it was our neighbors basically, and it had a bumper sticker on it with your name and an expletive, which I had to explain to my children. Given that you're trying to do something that has rarely been achieved in Canada in history, a fourth mandate, have you considered the possibility that you have become a liability?
Ever since the pandemic, in particular, we've seen an increase in polarization and frustration and anxiety and mental health pressures on a whole lot of people right across the country. Nobody has been unaffected by that. And part of the challenge we have politically is that we are seeing deeper polarizations. But don't write off Canadians just because they choose to wave a nasty flag. Don't write off a neighbor who chooses to put a bumper sticker that unfortunately you then have to explain to your kids. People are hurting out there. And what we've seen every single time there's been an emergency or a challenge this summer is neighbors stepping up to help each other. This is who Canadians are. We are a big, optimistic, diverse country with a diverse range of political views, and it's one of our strengths. Another one of our strengths is how we pull together when times are tough. That's what we did during the pandemic. That's what we do when we work together to invest in early childhood education. That's what we do when we work with municipalities and provinces to build more housing. That's what we do when we invest in our future all together. Now, politics is never going to be a game of unanimous support. It's about a whole bunch of thoughtful, good people coming together to try and figure out the best way forward. And yes, there are people who are hurting, and there are people who are lashing out. And we need to be there to reassure them that they're going to be able to succeed, that their kids and their communities are going to be able to succeed, even though the world is changing in very scary ways. So I'm not giving up on anyone. I'm going to continue working hard every day to build that future that we all know Canada can have. We are the best country in the world. Let's keep making it better.
Next question.
JP Tasker, CBC News. Prime Minister, I wanted to ask you, how are you feeling after your recent separation from Sophie?
First, I want to thank all the people who've reached out over the past number of weeks with warm wishes, with personal messages, with personal stories that have been just wonderful and positive. I got a really good 10 days with the family to focus on the kids, to focus on being together and moving forward. And I really, really want to thank Canadians for having been so incredibly gracious and incredibly generous in respecting our privacy and our space. It really makes things easier.
Will Sophie have any role publicly moving forward, or is that it?
We've addressed that. I'm here and glad to be talking about childcare and everything we're doing together to build a better future, not just for my kids, but for everyone across the country.
Next question.
Prime Minister, the pharmacare legislation that's expected in the fall, how will PEI's experience with the federal government agreement inform it? And will it be intended to sort of be a single payer federal-led program or a series of agreements that address gaps across the country?
Okay, we'll just pull out of this. So I'd say his marriage situation has become a bit of a political liability. Doesn't want to talk about it. His tone has certainly changed when discussing the F Trudeau flags and bumper stickers and that small fringe minority with unacceptable views. Now talking about you, me, us in a different way now. What a change in tone. I smell an election in the air. I don't think that's going to fly with a lot of people. It seems a little disingenuous at this point, in the same way that his sudden concern for free speech and free media seems disingenuous. Mr. Censorship. Yeah, we have to crack down on all that misinformation, disinformation, malinformation. Thank you, Mr. Trudeau. That's where he's at. So that's where we're at. Let's take another break. There's a lot more to talk about tonight. Do not go away. More.
Greetings, brave Mavericks. Our quest for truth continues. We go beyond fake news. Together we expose propaganda. Together we pull others out of rabbit holes. We are maverick thinkers. We are all unique individuals, defenders of individual rights and freedoms, credible, trusted, grounded in reality. Maverick News, Maverick News. Defending free speech, free speech. Donate at freedomreporters.com. Do it now. Tomorrow may be too late. Maverick News. The world is watching.
Okay, let's we know that the wildfires are still burning. We know that Trudeau is censoring. We know that the social media companies don't really care. They just care about the money. We know. What else do I know? Well, I know that over at InfoWars, they're predicting a return to mask mandates middle of next month. I don't know how they know that. Is Alex Jones right this time? I don't know. I hope not. That's what they're reporting. Interesting. Another interesting thing. You know who guest hosted over there in the last day or so? Chris Sky. They put him on. I thought that was interesting. Analyzing that. Running that through my brain. But yeah, he was over there. Also talking about that very subject. So we'll see if that prediction comes true. What else do I know? I know that Rhonda Jubenville is still fighting on the front lines. A local councillor right here in my hometown who is making a big impact nationally and internationally even. She stood up and was reprimanded because she didn't want special interest group flags flown outside government buildings, wanted only government flags flown. That became or was conflated into an LGBTQS plus issue. As a result of that, when that issue was debated locally, someone purchased or made a donation in her name to the Church of Satan, knowing full well that Rhonda is a Christian. That, of course, was offensive and scary for Rhonda, and that I totally understand that. Well, somebody did it again. Here's her Facebook page. And look what somebody had mailed over to City Hall, what they call it, the Civic Center here, for Rhonda, from the Church of donation made in her name to the Church of Satan. Here it is. Sorry, it's still not coming up. Computer's sluggish. There we go. Unbelievable. So Rhonda says that, looky what was mailed to me at the Civic Center. Again, I sprayed it with exorcism water, she says. I love the fact that I am living rent-free in someone else's head right now. I'm assuming this is the same person who composed that new website I just found. So there's a website about this. Feel free to check out the website. It's very informative. Someone is very offended that I am a Christian. Somebody bought her name as a domain. Run for council, they said. It'll be fun, they said. And yeah, she was reprimanded because she was accused of harassing and bullying people because of her initiative to have special interest group flags not flown anymore outside municipal buildings because not every group was being included. Some were being excluded. And she said, if not everybody can participate, then nobody should participate. That was her position, accused of harassing and bullying. But now this. And when you make a donation in someone's name, you can have this mailed to them to let them know from the Satanic Temple. It's a real thing. This is 2 donations now made in her name, and then she receives these. You know, here's my thing. I'm disgusted. And this is me editorializing, okay? This is my opinion. I'm disgusted. During the height of the pandemic, our local council woke. They fell right into line. They were so eager to lock people down and make people wear masks. Couldn't wait. Mandates all in. This was before Rhonda was on council. I remember how it was. I remember the attitude. I remember the messaging. And it wasn't just this community, it was others as well. Most, if not all. I remember. I remember the way certain groups of people who didn't get the thing in the arm were treated in our community. Second-class citizens. Wasn't right. Very discriminatory. And it all came from people, community leaders, who pretend to be warm, caring, concerned individuals. You treated people like crap. You really did. And you didn't care. You showed your true colors. You showed what was really in here. And I'm disgusted. I was disgusted then, and I'm doubly disgusted now because of what you've done to Rhonda. Because you haven't learned a damn thing. Not one damn thing. It's the people who sent her those are the bullies. You might not agree with Rhonda and her political views. You might not be Christian. Doesn't matter. Sick of you and your political left-wing woke political correctness crapola. I haven't forgotten. I will never forget what you did. Ever. I may forgive, but I will not forget. And the reason I'm doubly disgusted tonight is because I don't see one of you over there sticking up for her, defending her, or condemning what just happened to her. Shame on you. Rhonda and Christians, people who go to church, have a right to their views as well. Now, I'll stand up for anybody for their freedom to speak their mind. We should have freedom of religion, and you should be free to even not believe in God. If you don't, That's fine too. Whatever you believe, that's all fine. Live and let live. But that's the problem, isn't it? See, you want diversity, but you don't. You say you want diversity, but you don't. You don't want diversity of thought. You're not tolerant of people who don't think like you. You want conformity. You want to divide people into their little groups and have a hierarchy of victimhood because you're all in on identity politics. And you're quick to condemn, and you're quick to accuse, and you're quick to punish. You've docked Rhonda 3 months' pay. She has to work for the next 3 months with no pay just because you disagreed with her political views. And that's the truth. And you disagreed with her. You don't like her religious views. You don't like the moral stance that she takes. Well, I'll tell you, our society has lost its moral compass as far as I'm concerned. And that's present on full display right now. Because a truly moral society would include and tolerate Rhonda and other Christians. Not penalize. You may not agree. You can disagree. You can debate. You can make your position known. But to punish her and then to allow this kind of actual harassment to take place and not call that out when, especially after you've penalized her and taken away 3 months of her pay and then tried to you haven't tried, you publicly shamed her. Not that she has anything to be ashamed of. In fact, I would say she's the one, honestly, who has been behaving in the most virtuistic way. She's holding true to her values. And I know also what you've done is, yeah, some people maybe they've said some bad things and they've done some things they should not have done. Rhonda can't absolutely control that, but you're holding her accountable for the actions of other people in the community. That's not right either. She didn't do anything wrong. You did. From the mayor right down the line with that last group of councillors, you did. And a bunch of you even now. Now, a few of you have softened your position and some of you have actually spoken out and you didn't vote in favor of reprimanding Rhonda. And I applaud you for that because you had the courage to stand up. Finally. And she's making a difference over there, not just in her hometown, but across the country because other municipalities all across Canada and even in the United States are taking note of what she is doing. Local action having national and international impact. That's where it starts. I was watching a video from General Michael Flynn just yesterday where he speaks of this exact thing. Exactly what I've been advocating for a couple of years. Well, since the beginning of the pandemic, I've said, if you want to make a difference, get involved locally. That's where it begins. And that's what Rhonda did. And she's having a major impact. And now it looks like we're going to have a legal challenge related to exactly these issues, to these actions taken by the municipal council, the actions directed at reprimanding her. And these will be constitutional questions that could be taken all the way to the highest court in the land because of her actions locally. And she had the courage to stand up, and she's still doing it every day. And what is happening here with these thank you letters from the Satanic temple being mailed her, unacceptable. To her, it's frightening. I find it disgusting. And you've shown your true damn colors again. You've learned nothing. You didn't deserve to get reelected. And I'm saying that straight to the mayor's face, too. You don't deserve your damn job, sir. Because of what you did during the pandemic to people, some people. I'm ashamed of you and the others on council who did that. And I say that as a taxpayer. And there's a long list of others at various levels of government, all across the country and into the US, all around the world. You find out who really is a leader in a time of crisis. They were few and far between during the pandemic. And I don't know what we're going to be facing heading into next month. If these predictions come true, well, that petrifies me, because what happened during the lockdown was my worst nightmare. The way our rights and freedoms were taken from us. Can't happen again. If they do that, if you guys do that again, you're going to have a really serious problem on your hand, I'm telling you, because there are so many Canadians out there who just this time will not accept it. I don't think you understand the level of frustration and anger that is out there because of that and what will be unleashed. So I don't advocate for anything like that ever. I've made that very clear on this program many, 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 many times. So please heed this when I warn you. And I don't mean that in a, like I'm warning you. I'm just trying to give you some good information. Bad decision if you do it again. You're going to have some really, really upset people. It's not going to be like the last time. Some people will get a little crazy. I can see it. Please don't. Please, please don't. The country won't survive it. Not that it did the last time. I don't recognize this damn country anymore. And it doesn't feel right. Nothing feels the same anymore. I don't go out as much as I used to. I don't go to the shopping mall. Not that there's a really good mall in this town anyway. There isn't. It's almost like a thing of the past now. But I'll tell you, I went to a shopping mall yesterday in Windsor. I used to go there all the time. I lived in that town for over 10 years. Windsor, Ontario, Canada. Pretty good shopping mall. Hadn't been there in quite a while. I was down there shopping for stuff for my daughter's wedding. I was in some clothing stores. Way more expensive. Quality sucked. As I walked through the place, there was just a different atmosphere. Doesn't feel right anymore. It's not fun. Inflation was off the charts. Maybe it's just me. Maybe I'm getting old. Maybe my expectations were unrealistic. But when I walked through the Bay, you know what that place had for me? It was like I could smell, it was musty. The place was getting old. Down at the other end of the mall was the old Sears store, still sitting vacant. I walked through the Bay and it felt like its days were numbered. And I can't say, I don't mean to, badmouth the Bay department store. I'll tell you, like I was up in the menswear department there and their buyers, like their quality was a little bit better than the other stores. But man, the quality has gone right out the window on a lot of stuff, especially like I used to wear suits every day when I worked in mainstream media when I was young. I had to wear a suit to try to look older to make myself look more credible. And I used to be able to buy fine quality cotton shirts. Pay a little more, they'd last for years. That was true value, and they would feel right, thick, high thread count, good quality. You think I could find a shirt like that? Nope. Quality's gone. The suits, I'd get a wedding costume, right? For my daughter's upcoming wedding, because I had to, you got to dress like a penguin, or you're just not in. You got to get a purple tie. Anyway, can't get a good tie. $60 for a little skinny piece of rayon. It's not even, I didn't even get one. I'm still looking. But it's just inflation, and we're living in a centrally planned economy now. And it shows when you go into these stores. Selections down, quality's out the window, prices way high. Just absolute crap on the shelves. Like, I'm just telling you, man. And I used to, here in town, there was a tailor, Eddie Mariconda, friend of mine, formerly trained, independent shop. So when here in town, I used to buy my suits from Eddie. He recently passed away. Nice fella. And I go in there, always knew me, fantastic service, and the quality of the suits. And priced just like the chain stores. And then he would tailor these things for you. Not there anymore. He retired recently, closed down his shop, tried to find somebody to buy it. And of course, couldn't sell it. And when he finally did retire, he died shortly after. It's like so many things today, it's like the way humans are. It's the way people are. Your dream, everything you work for, everything you strive for in life, when it's diminished, when it's taken away from you, you become the thing that you work for. It becomes part of you. And when that dies, you die. Eddie passed away. And there's nothing like that in this town anymore. It's gone. Quality. People cared for a while how they looked, how they dressed. For me, it's like a metaphor, it's like, it's maybe something from the past, but not that far back. People cared. The style, it was different styles, yeah, but quality, the quality was there, and the service. People cared. Now, there's no place for that stuff anymore. What is out there is junk. A lot of people just don't know the difference. You have a prime minister got elected because he promised to make weed legal. Let's face it, that's what it's about. I'm just saying, okay, you do what you want. I don't smoke weed and I don't do LSD. It's not my thing. But that's why Trudeau got elected the first time. And he's been clinging to power since. It's largely why I got elected. In my opinion, honestly, last thing people need out there right now, when you can't tell reality from fiction, when you don't know if the UFOs are real, is drugs. Okay? Hallucinogens. I don't know what's real. Okay? Yeah, let's get drunk and stoned, and at the same time, we'll get all droned up, and then we'll try and figure it out. A little clarity would probably go a long way in trying to decipher what's real and what isn't. Okay. Maybe the reason we have all these people sitting there having these meetings trying to just the CIA, I think they're all stoned. Jesus. Oh. And then you have this pandemic come along. He just wears his fascism on his sleeve, locks everybody down, embraces the whole New World Order, globalism, great reset, blah, 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 forces small businesses to close, leaves the big box stores open, treats people like crap. Then you have this huge transfer of wealth from the middle class, the poor, the independent shop owners, many of whom have closed, will never reopen, devastated financially, bankrupt. But Jeff Bezos makes enough money to buy his own damn space ship. A great big giant flying dildo. He's laughing at us. Then he phones up Captain Kirk and says, "Hey, Jimmy." Well, Bill, you want to go for a ride on my giant flying spaceship dildo? I just made $1 billion during the pandemic. And Captain Kirk says, "Yes, make it so." Oh, that's Picard. Whatever. Engage warp 22. Spare no expense. Fly to the stars. Fly me to the moon. Oh, by the way, the Russians, they tried to land a lunar lander on the south pole of the moon. It crashed, and now the Western media is joyous. They're celebrating. They're just so happy because the Russians failed. Listening to that on the radio this morning. I was aware of it, the other day, but then they're talking about it when I'm driving to Toronto today and on my way back. And yeah, let's just have a celebration at the expense of someone else's failure, right? Like, how juvenile. Because you can't like anything Russian or cheer for anything, even say, "Hey, good job, nice try," because we're at war. But hey, Jeff Bezos and his giant flying dildo, that's cool. Whatever. SpaceX, Musk. The Virgin dude, Richard Branson. He's got his own space program too. Reminds me of Howard Hughes, who back in the day had the world's largest private air force when he made a movie called Hell's Angels. That was in the 30s. Bought up all these old vintage aircraft. I think it was in the 30s he made that movie. Anyway, I digress. Today, things have gotten loopy. Everything's freaking upside down, man. Shame on you for doing what you did to Rhonda. Shame on you all. Makes me angry, but I contain it. And I know there are people out there who don't contain it, but we have to. We have to remember that It's just a bad move, bad form. It's a trap to not contain it. The way forward has to be with clear mind, level-headed thinking, methodical, get strategic. Let's get our rights restored so that they can't do it to us again. We're not there. But there's a process that has to be followed, can be followed, should be followed. Rhonda's lawyer is showing us the way. He's got it dialed in. We had him on the program the other night. Again, Rhonda leading by example. Rhonda's lawyer leading by example and making progress. That's the way forward. And I know a lot of you think it doesn't work. The system's corrupt. Canada's not even a real country and there's nothing we can do. I still disagree. The system doesn't work. Actually, I'm going to argue here right now tonight that the system damn well does work. In fact, it probably works a little too well sometimes. Justin Trudeau has proven it. You think about it. You think back just a few years ago. Were people jacked up like this? No. Were they this upset? No. What did Justin Trudeau do? Justin Trudeau seized power through the electoral process and was able to fundamentally transform an entire country in the space of just a couple of years, and then take it even further after that. He's changed this place. It's not even recognizable. And that's just with under the tutelage of, the watch of this one guy and this powerful political party and these globalists that have glommed onto this country. But it's been done in very short order. And I know you're going to sit there and say, oh, it was the guys before and the guys before and the guys before. But no, quite mistaken. Quite mistaken. These parties have evolved over time. They still have the same labels. But the Liberal Party of today is not the Liberal Party of yesterday or yesteryear. And in Canada, we've seen other parties come to the forefront over time. We've seen the old Conservative Party self-destruct. We saw the Reform Party come to the fore for a while. You go back to the 80s and the 90s and you saw the conservative political elements in this country transform, evolve. Conservatives, the Reform Party came along. They became more prominent than the Conservatives, both sort of representing conservative elements. Preston Manning with the Reform Party. That's a real thing, man. Like they were a political powerhouse that had a political force that had to be reckoned with. You see what goes on in Quebec, the Bloc Québécois, the separatists there, people advocating for more Quebec influence. They certainly bring their power to bear. It's not just a two-party system. The Conservatives were destroyed. Look at what's going on in Ontario right now. The Liberal Party, not in very good shape at all. The Conservatives in power, but the Conservatives, not the Conservative Party of old. Doug Ford, the Premier of Ontario, more a Liberal than a Conservative, very progressive. But the point is, you go back and you look, these parties, the key to changing the political course of the country is not just at the ballot box, it's to get involved at the party level, to change things from within whatever party it is that you choose to become part of and active with. That's where you develop party platforms. You become involved with that at that level. And people say, well, but the WEF is infiltrated. Yeah, but everything with the WEF is not binding. It's a choice by the governing party, in this case, the Liberals, with the help of the NDP. And some of the Conservatives, too. But if you want to change something, you don't just sit back and wait for the next vote. You get involved in the party and you go to their meetings and you push forward ideas that become part of the party platform. And if you don't want WEF influence, then you insert that kind of ideology and those positions and those policies and make it part of you work to get that integrated into the party platform. And then when the party goes forward into the next election, that becomes part of what they campaign on. But you can't just sit back and expect to vote, because what's gone on with the Conservative Party of Canada, the CPC now is what it's called, is they've been infiltrated by the Liberals. Half the people running for the leadership the last time around were Liberals pretending to be Conservatives. They represent the progressive arm of the party. That's partly why we have the splintering that we've got right now with Maxime Bernier and the PPC. But the point is, the system does work. It can work. It has worked. It's worked too damn well. Because after you had the Conservative Party, then you had the Reform Party come along after the Conservatives were kind of destroyed. The party split. Then it came back together under the Canadian Alliance, if you remember that. The policies were kind of different at the time and everything sort of evolved. And then from that, we now have this CPC, or Conservative Party of Canada, which is supposed to be more conservative than progressive, or at least it seemed to be, or it was. And there was a lot of Western Canada influence within that because of the old reformers who became integrated and part of this. But the Liberals came back in and the progressive element of the party grew. And so now you have, because of the globalist influence from the WEF and other globalist activist groups, everything has shifted further and further left over time. And that's because Canadians, too, have been demanding more and more free stuff. But the system can work. It does work. And I just point to Justin Trudeau again. He gets himself into office, and then look at the change that he made. I don't even recognize this place anymore. And in short order. You think it can't be done again? It certainly can be. You just have to know how to do it. The problem is, a lot of the people who are trying to lead us out of this, or say that they're trying to, really, they don't have a clue. They don't know how the system works. They sit around, they make these claims. They say that they know this and this isn't true and that's not true. And they don't know. They're out to lunch. You can't win when you start with a false premise. You can't win when you've already started from a place of not truth. You've lost before you started. You sit around and spin your wheels because you're not even playing the same game as the guys in charge. The guys have figured it out. Trudeau figured it out. He comes from a political family that he knows how it works. He knows how the system works. But the Achilles heel of democracy, of a democracy like Canada, is democracy. That's the Achilles heel. It's also its strength. But its greatest strength is also its greatest weakness, because you figure out the system, you get in there, you get yourself elected, you can get elected, you know how to manipulate the system. You get a bad dude in there who gets elected, you can do really bad things. And you can get a bad dude because you can get elected. The good news is the system is designed to self-correct over time because of the people, because of you. If you get involved, and if things get to a point where enough people are suffering, they will take action politically. They will. And we can, as long as the system is actually preserved. The danger here is that everybody seems to want to tear the damn system down. And yes, the system needs some changes. We need to reinforce our constitutional rights, in particular, the Charter of Rights and Freedoms. And yes, we do have a damn constitution. It was patriated in the 1980s. And these other people who say we don't keep pointing back much further back in history, and they don't know what the hell they're talking about. It's a real thing. It does exist. And so too does the Charter of Rights and Freedoms. You can look it up, and I can show you videos in Parliament of the Constitution being patriated. It exists. The system is set up to self-correct if the people choose to correct it. The problem right now, folks, is that not enough people want to correct it. There isn't enough support for it. There's some there. You don't really need that much more. You don't even need a majority. You just need enough of the people who care enough to actually go out and vote, to vote with you. And the path forward on that is to win the hearts and the minds, and to debate, and to get involved. And it can work, and it does work. It sure as hell worked for Trudeau. He knew how to work it. Got involved, had the name, had the party logo, the brand, not the Liberal Party of old, the new neoliberal woke Liberal Party. The globalist agenda. Gets elected, brings it to bear. He's the poster child. He's Klaus Schwab's boy, brings it all in, brings it home. Because they know how the system works. Just saying. You ain't going to win if you don't understand the system. If you just don't get it, you're not going to win. You're going to lose. Every single time. And you know what I see happening? I see losing over and over and over and over and over again. But the system's corrupt. No, the people who lose just make an excuse and say they lost because the system is corrupt. But it's because they don't know how the damn system works. That's the truth. Not to say you're going to win every time, but they always lose. We've been losing. We're gaining some ground in terms of political support from the public mind, the minds of some people in the public beginning to change because they're beginning to see, they're beginning to wake up. But you know, the other thing that people need to do here, we all need to be asking ourselves, is what I'm seeing really true? Is what I believe really true? But I see a lot of people with their eyes wide shut, believing only what they want to believe, not willing to even look at any other perspective. And again, you do that, you're going to lose every time. Open your damn eyes and really open them. Don't have eyes wide shut. I hope you understand what I'm saying. You figure out the system, you can win. That's why you hire a great lawyer when you get charged with something, right? You hire a crappy lawyer, you're going to lose every single damn time because the lawyer that you hire has to know how the system works. If you hire a lawyer who sucks and goes up against a lawyer who knows more, you're probably going to lose because it isn't just about what's fair and what's right. It's about knowing how things work. But if you, on a technicality, do something wrong, then you don't even get your voice heard. So every time I look at what's going on, I see over and over and over again, I see freedom fighters getting their asses kicked. And then they say, it's because the system's corrupt. No, it's because you don't know how the system works. So then you just say, well, it's just not fair. Nobody said life was fair, man. You got to get smart, learn how shit works, and get to work. I've been sitting here every damn night for what, the last 2+ years, whatever, trying to share this with people. And what do I get back? You're not a true freedom fighter because you don't believe that the Klingon disruptor things blew up half the planet and the planet's on fire. We need to go. It's terrible. And what are we going to do now? We might as well just give up. Screw that. I ain't giving up. It's because the planet's not on fire. It's not. We have forest fires. Yeah, it sucks. 380 of those 14 approximately in British Columbia are serious. The others are smaller. They're trying to work on those, but the world is not on fire. Lahaina is a town. It's not the world. I saw somebody sent me a map and it had all these little fire flames all over the globe, scaring the living shit out of everybody. Ask yourself, during the damn pandemic, what did they do to you? What did they do to everybody? They showed you dead bodies. They showed you people running around with hazmat suits. I saw they scared the living crap out of you to try to get you to comply and conform. Mainstream media doing the same damn thing now. The world is boiling. Do you think that line was an accident? And do you think that line came out through the media and got the play that it got at the same time that these wildfires are happening? And it's getting all this play in the media? I'm not saying the wildfires aren't real. They're damn real and they're damn serious. And what happened in Lahaina is an absolute tragedy. And it absolutely is a situation where people need to be held accountable because they're incompetent and maybe criminal. But we don't give up. And it's not the Klingons, in my estimation. Now, you can believe what you want, but at the end of the day, it doesn't even matter. If it's the Klingons, the Romulans, the Starship Enterprise, Joe Biden's Space Force, Trump thing, whatever, it doesn't matter. The point is, the fires are there. And we've known for a long time that there was this threat of potential eco-terrorism, a wide range of different possible motives and causes for this. And it probably is a variety of, it is going to be a variety of different causes. Arson. What was the motivation behind the arson in this case? I don't know. It could be this. It could be that. It could be that. It could be this. There's some people who want you to believe that the government is doing it to burn people alive or to corral people or whatever because they want to get you jacked up and get you angry so that you'll lash out, not think rationally, and do things you ought not do. That's the truth too. So you have people with different motivations when it comes to this propaganda that you're being fed. The mainstream media is feeding it to you on behalf of the politicians and the neoliberal woke group because they want you to buy into the climate change thing. And then on the other side of the equation, you've got people who are sick and tired of them, so sick and tired that they want to get you so angry that you'll run out and do things you ought not do. So they're heavily motivated as well. And they don't give a damn about truth either. And then somewhere in the middle is some sort of truth. And it is a real problem. But at the end of the day, it doesn't even matter what started them. I mean, it matters, but what really matters at the moment is there are people in need, people are in danger, and we need to address that. And when we've addressed that danger, then we can take a deep breath, go back, review what's happened, get the facts, and then push forward to come up with solutions so that this shit doesn't happen anymore, or not to this degree. And think. It's my assessment. I'm tired of it because this is just more insanity, and all of this stuff literally is driving people insane. It's driving people mental. Maybe even me a little bit. It's depressing. Because I don't like to see it either, but I want to deal with it in a real way so that we get real results. I don't want to lose anymore. I'm tired of losing. I'm tired of people following people around who don't have a flippin' clue, or they have a clue, but they don't really want a solution because they're there to just manipulate, or they're an infiltrator of some kind, or they're a grifter and they don't want the problem to end. They say they do, but they don't really, because they just have their hand out and they want the money to keep coming in. They don't want it to end. There's some of that going on too, folks. And it's discouraging as hell because the country needs to we need to get it back, right it up, get it straightened up again. Because we're off to the side and it's not. And when I go to the mall, everything feels wrong. It's not just that there was inflation and shit. It's just that there's like, you're walking through the place and there's this weight of, I don't know, government or distrust. People don't like each other anymore. I don't know what it is. But even when I walk around my neighborhood now, people don't even say, a few people say hello, but a lot of people, they just keep their head down. They've got their headphones in. They don't say hello. It's not friendly. I don't know what it is. Well, I guess I do. We've lost trust in each other. We've lost our communities. We've lost our sense of community. We've lost our moral compass. Things have just been blown to bits. Thank you, Justin Trudeau. The guy's got to go. He is a liability, not so much for the Liberal Party, but for the damn country. Oh, I'm so worried about the media and the journalists have to be paid. And we need to it's horse crap. Liar. You don't care. Disingenuous. Rhonda, thank you for fighting and having the courage to stand up to these jerks over at my city hall. And thank you for making a difference, not just here, but for the whole damn country. And to all of you guys, thank you for coming here every night and listening to what I have to say. And, as I sit back and I look at all this censorship going on and the political groups that they're rudderless. I don't even know where I'm at politically anymore, honestly. I don't see any good options. Not from where I sit, and it's no different down in the US. Biden? Or where am I? Am I still in? Well, I'm running for the Senate to what? I'm going to fall down again. Trump? The guy's just surrounded by lawsuits and drama, and it sucks. I don't know if it's good for the country. It's all about his lawsuits. What about the issues facing Americans? The kitchen table issues, inflation, RFK Jr., good luck. The DNC is so damn corrupt. They don't want him. And then all the crap information and the polarization, the propaganda wars, what's going on in Ukraine. And that's the thing too. These wildfires, they're serious. They're a problem. No question about it. But we're going to get through this. These are forest fires. Eventually, they will be put out. We will get through it. We will right the ship that way. But there are other things that are like super serious. Like the war in Ukraine, the possibility of an actual nuclear conflict. North Korea saying they're ready to nuke us, and the mainstream media ignoring it. But it was Trump who was supposed to get us into the nuclear war, and here's Biden, and North Korea is actually threatening to do it now, and the mainstream media is like, whatever, we're not going to talk about that. Meanwhile, Trump didn't have us anywhere near that, and he diffused the situation, and the mainstream media just had nothing to negative crap to say about him. It's all out of whack, and that's because of the money corrupting the media and the political forces that have come to bear. This is wrong. Journalism is dead. At least journalism as I knew it. What's going on out here now is activism. I feel sometimes like I'm a lone voice. Old school, old guy. Looking for the balance, looking for the truth. Getting it from both sides. A little bit of honesty here. Way too much. Too much honesty here to garner support. It doesn't fly the way it used to. It doesn't fly at all, really. You have to pick a team. I'm on Team Freedom. I'm on Team Canada. I'm on the team of truth. That's why I'm thinking we almost need to start our own sort of political action group here, but have a action group focused on freedom of speech, freedom of media. We need to bring in more independent journalists, streamers, invite them to be part of the organization. I'm really giving this some serious thought so that we can expand our influence and our reach in the face of all this censorship. It can still be fixed. It will be fixed. It will take time. It will take time. It will take more time. It will take more effort. It will take more legal challenges from people like Rhonda and her lawyer. It will take perseverance on the part of true independent journalists. It'll take the people in the end. And I know that people sit here and they use these phrases, right? And I know exactly where it's coming from. I've studied this deeply. We want a government of the people, by the people, for the people. That's an American kind of a phrase. And that's noble, desirable. I don't think the system we have in Canada is, any further ahead or behind really what they have in the US. Some people seem to want to fashion something new here in Canada and model it after what they have in the United States. Free to do that, as far as I'm concerned, if you want to work through the process politically. But don't come to me and whine and complain and say, the system's corrupt, it doesn't work, your vote doesn't matter, so we give up, so we're just going to have to find a non-political solution. Really? That doesn't work. Trading one set of problems for another. Worse. And it's out there. It doesn't have to be. And even if you got your republic, look at what's going on in the States. I just pointed out to you the dysfunction that's going on down there. And politically, they're more splintered than ever. The fact that Trump is not participating in this debate just reinforces exactly what I just told you. There is splintering going on, political splintering. He's not a shoo-in, even if he gets the nomination. He's not a shoo-in for the nomination, and he's not a shoo-in for election if he goes up against Biden or whomever the DNC chooses, because they're splintering and he's miscalculating. And the Trump MAGA movement of today is not the Trump MAGA movement that originally got him elected. It is different, markedly different. He has not expanded the base. He did expand the base originally, but now the base is shrinking. Very few people, I'm not actually hearing any other political analysts identifying this, but it's true. You have all these challengers, and some of them are bleeding off his support. It's true. Vivek Ramaswamy is one of them. He has successfully bled off some support. And he's not the only one. There are several. The polls are not entirely accurate. And the reason it's happening is because Trump has embraced, I would say, the more entrenched political elements. The Q movement. And then the sovereign citizen movement. And the patriots. And some of these other groups. And they have really formed a large part. They've grown since he first was elected, and they've formed a much larger part of his base. And that's powerful within the Republican Party right now. But because of all the lawsuits and people are getting a little bit fatigued with him and all of the drama, and there's more truth, actual truth coming out too, about a lot of different things. Trump is seeing his support erode a little bit, and I can sense it, I can see it, I can hear it, I even see it here in our chat, where some people who just maybe even a year and a bit ago were like all in on Trump, and I was super big on Trump too. But because of everything I've been witnessing, I'm not as big on him. I still like him, but I'm not as committed, And I like RFK Jr. And some of the people in the chat like him too. And there's dovetailing there because RFK Jr. represents the splintering on the other side. So you've got all this splintering. And even Tucker Carlson represents part of that political splintering. And so you've seen Trump now align himself with Tucker Carlson. He has now pre-recorded this interview that's going to run on the same night as the GOP debate. He records an interview as alternative programming with Tucker Carlson, who got fired from Fox because he represents part of that splinter group. And I wouldn't call it conservatives. It's a splintering of the populist movement away from the RNC. And on the RFK Jr. side, you're seeing sort of they represent the sort of the conservative right-wing element on the RNC side. They represent the conservative right-wing element of the populist movement, the libertarians. On the other side with RFK Jr., you're getting more of the socialists and the libertarian Marxists coming over from that side and other political elements, but it's all splintering off. And then because you've got RFK Jr. bringing his sort of populist movement, and that even represents some of those old Bernie supporters, right? And you got Trump over here with his, and there's this dovetailing, and it's blurring the political lines, and people can't really understand what's going on anymore because people like labels and they like black and white things, but the political landscape is not black and white anymore. So Trump opts out of the debate, but what that has actually done for me is it's put this political splintering on full display. We've got two candidates who are at odds with their own parties. The RNC is upset with Trump. You've got these rhinos, Republicans in name only, who are actually the Republicans. Trump's not really the Republican. He's a populist who sort of came in to take over the party. And that's what I'm saying too. That proves that the political system can work because you have candidates like RFK Jr. and Trump who don't really represent the status quo within the party. Trump came in and basically took the party over and transformed it from a bunch of neocons controlling everything to a populist party. That's real power. That's real change. That's fundamental change. Then you put him into the White House, and unfortunately, he just, for whatever variety of reasons, wasn't able to affect change to the level that people were hoping for. And you can criticize him for it, or you can be sympathetic toward him because he ended up dealing with the pandemic. Either way you want to look at it, it didn't quite work out. And I remember Rush Limbaugh saying, imagine what this presidency could have been if it had not been for all of these legal attacks coming from really the establishment embedded within both parties. Those who were afraid of and were opposed to and were working against the populist uprising that Trump represented. But now, today, things are different. I don't know where it'll end up, but you can sense it, you can see it, and yet still, see, there's still like a really strong Trump element there. Some people are like, if I don't get my candidate, if Trump isn't the man nominated by the party, then I'm not even going to show up to vote. And there's some people out there, outright calling for Trump to, or for like DeSantis to like bow out, quit. Here's this guy. What's his name? I got him queued up. He's doing exactly that. This guy's name is Gunther Eagleman. This is what some people are saying. Like, he's still got heavy duty support. But I think this is a miscalculation. I'm going against the grain on this one, but I'm going to play this clip for you just the same. If I can get the clip up, here we go. Here's Gunther Eagleson. This is exactly what I'm talking about. Man, this is sluggish. Here we go. Come on. Get him up on the screen. And here's your clip.
Yeah, this message is for Ron DeSantis, candidate Ron DeSantis. It's time you step out, suspend your campaign, whatever you want to fucking call it. We need to unite behind Donald Trump. You made a huge fucking mistake stabbing Trump and MAGA in the back. Huge. Step out now, apologize. Get back to Florida and your constituents who you lied to as well.
Here we go. I'm going to re-cue it.
Start helping. Yeah, this message is for Ron DeSantis, candidate Ron DeSantis. It's time you step out,
lost it again.
Suspend your campaign, whatever you want to fucking call it.
Sorry, folks. Let's try it again. Computer's freezing up here. Here we go.
Yeah, this message is for Ron DeSantis, candidate Ron DeSantis. It's time you step out, suspend your campaign, whatever you want to fucking call it. We need to unite behind Donald Trump. You made a huge fucking mistake stabbing Trump and MAGA in the back. Huge. Step out now, apologize, get back to Florida and your constituents who you lied to as well. Start helping them with the insurance problems down there. And who knows? 2028 might be a shot. You really do gotta condemn Paul Ryan and the establishment. Because jumping in, that was dumb. That was probably your biggest fucking mistake. Listening to fucking Paul Ryan. Anyway, time to step out. It's Trump's fucking GOP. Have a great Monday. Fuck Joe Biden. Hey, this message is for.
Pull this out. Okay. I'm going to say something pretty blunt here myself. Okay. And don't get me wrong, because I like Trump. But, dude, you were in office for 4 years and you were supposed to drain the swamp. And you surrounded yourself, because your bench wasn't very deep, with some backstabbers and people who were part of the deep state. And you just didn't get it done. And then the pandemic came along, so it cut you a little bit of slack, but at the same time, we got locked down, dude. And you were the guy in charge. And yeah, a lot of that stuff was handled at the state level, but you were the president of the United States. And what you did down there also had an impact on what happened up here in Canuckistan, where I live, because you set the trend on the US side, and you're the president, or you were. And so I'm disappointed, because not only did all that happen on your watch, this vaccine that you fast-tracked became a focal point of incredible controversy, partly because of the fast-tracking, which you called Operation Warp Speed. That's also a problem. It's also your Achilles heel. Why people are not, focusing on that more, not quite sure. I'll cut you, some slack. But things didn't go real well up here in Canuckistan during the pandemic. Still not going that great now. And that's partly because of what you did. So I'm not quite all in, Donald. Not the way that I was. And I was right there with Rush Limbaugh. Felt sort of like a return to the Reagan era for a while, until everything went to hell. But where the hell have you been? What the hell happened? And what about all this censorship? They were hammering on you, man. Even when you were the president. And you could see it coming a mile away. And people were getting censored and deplatformed. And look what happened to Alex Jones, taken right down. And what'd you do? Nothing. Didn't do a damn thing. Then they deplatformed you. They silenced you, censored you. A former president of the United States, a president of the United States, they silenced you, man. And you had the power, with the stroke of a pen, an executive order. You could have saved all of us the grief that we're going through right now, because you set the trend. And Bill C-11, Bill C-18, everything that has come since on the censorship side, that's because you just didn't get it done when you had the chance. And you had 4 years. You did a lot of other great things, I'll give you that. But man, these were key issues. Freedom of speech, you don't have that. Where the hell does that leave us? Nothing is more important than freedom of speech, and you didn't get the job done. Either you didn't recognize that there was really a serious threat, even as you were facing it head on yourself, or maybe worse, you didn't care. Maybe you didn't care because you didn't think they would do it to you. And that's the other thing. And everybody here needs to think about this too. Trump said, they're coming for me because they really just want to get to you, or whatever his phrase was, right? coming for him because they really want to get to you. That's us. And people went, yeah, right on, man. You're the man. And people even look at Donald Trump as sort of an idol today, almost in religious terms. A lot of people do. That's why his base of support is so strong. The man, something it still just doesn't quite sit right with me. See, because yeah, you were supposed to be standing in their way, but you've got a whole bunch of people in jail right now because they were the ones who stood up for you. And they're in jail paying the price, and you're still not. And so I sure as hell hope that if you do get reelected, the first thing you do is address that and take care of the people who are there trying to protect you, because you delivered a message that made them do what they did. Rightly so, wrongly so, whatever. Okay. And I don't want to get down into that here on YT and FB. And I've got my own views on it. You know, people know where I stand on it. Okay, I'm with you, man. But people paid a price. They're still paying a price. And so you didn't stand in the way. You didn't prevent them from getting to them. They were trying to prevent them from getting to you and to all of us. And I get it, but things kind of went off the rails there. These people need help in a way, right? Although every individual should be held responsible for their individual actions, and everybody here should keep that in mind, because if you have people out there telling you you should be doing things, you keep that in mind, because bad things can happen. So I'm just not all in. Not like I was. I still see positive things, and I kind of like where things are at, but there are other options. And things have gone nutty. Things have gotten worse. So you've got this political splintering. And Trump, where are we at, Trump? Help me out here. So he's not going to debate. He's playing politics. And it's different now. He said, first time around, I'm not a politician. Yeah, you are now. Heavy duty. And it's not the same as it was. This is not like a conservative Reagan Renaissance thing, pro-America thing. It's different now. The things have shifted. It's not quite the same. It doesn't even have the same feel anymore. And you go to those rallies, and there's still a lot of that, but it's not entirely that. And I think if you really take a long, hard look at it and you're honest with yourself, you can see that it's not quite the same. And that's why he's not a shoe-in. He's got an uphill battle. Some of these other candidates, they're nipping at his heels. And yeah, there's maybe in the polls a lot of ground to make up, but maybe not as much as you think. Maybe not quite as much as you think. I will say this, like over at CNN, Jim Acosta, in this, amazed that Trump still has the resiliency he has, and I'll give you that. He is resilient. He is no doubt still the front runner. Here's Jim Acosta. Just look at his reaction after this pundit kind of lays it on the line and says, hey, you know what? In spite of all these attacks, Trump's still kind of rising or strong in the polls. And I'm not saying Trump can't win. He certainly can. I'm just saying it's not a sure thing anymore. I think before it was a sure thing. Now, maybe not quite so much, but still surprisingly resilient, to the point where Jim Acosta, Mr. CNN, Mr. Blow-dried hair boy is actually shocked. Just take a look at this.
Look here. This is Quinnipiac University. It was a 2-point race in February. Look where it is now. It's a 1-point race. That's well within the margin of error. But take away one thing from this, and one thing only if you take away only one thing. And that is, I think there are a lot of Democrats who simply can't believe that Donald Trump can be elected president again. The polling indicates that Trump is, in fact, in a stronger position at this point than he was during the entire 2020 campaign, according to the national polls. If we had state-level polling, I wouldn't even be surprised if Trump were ahead in the swing states that are most important, Jim.
Right, and when the race is that close, it comes down to the Electoral College. And who knows what happens with that. We don't even have those kinds of numbers just yet. But from a national standpoint, you're absolutely right. It is remarkable where Trump stands right now when it comes to the rest of this field and with general election voters. Harry Ensign, as always, thank you very much. We appreciate it. Be sure to check out Harry's podcast, Margins of Error. You can find it on your favorite podcast.
And bring that off. And so, yeah, I mean, the polling is the polling. Really put a lot of stock in the polls. I think there's some truth in it, but I don't think it's entirely accurate. I still stand by what I'm saying. And it looks like we lost our Facebook feed. I'm not sure why. It looks like I don't know, maybe we've been censored. We just lost the Facebook feed. Don't know. I'll check it out later. That's probably what's happened. We've probably been censored on Facebook. Fantastic. Just lost the feed. That's where we're at. Thanks, Donald, for not doing anything when you were in there for 4 years. I'm sorry. It's frustrating as heck. He was supposed to drain the swamp, man. He was supposed to protect us. That's what he was there for. Now he wants another shot. We're going to give it to him? I don't know. I just don't know, man. What do you guys think? What do you guys think? Christian Rose says, this computer is slow, man. Let's get it up on the screen here, folks. Christina Rose says Trump is the trumpet and is the king of Babylon. Alicia Smith says it'll be a race if RFK gets in. Yeah, I agree with that. No question about it. And here's Leo, mouth of the South. He says, how dare you talk about Trump? I know, man. I know. If I say anything about Trump that's negative at all, I risk the wrath of everyone here. I know. I get it. It's I should not speak ill of the Trumpster. But I'm just trying to be truthful and honest. And I think that's where we're at with him. That's where I'm at with him. I'm okay with him. I'm just disappointed he didn't do more when he had the chance. And Sailor Jerry, hello, Sailor Jerry. How you doing, Jerry? Jerry says, hand orange covering eyes. Yeah. And Leo says the war in Ukraine will end the second he gets in. That's what he says. I hope it's true. You know, I hope it's true. I hope Biden does not get reelected. Like, oh my God. Oh my God. I cringe just every time he shuffles around on camera. Watching him today was painful. Absolutely painful. Antonio Hey, Antonio, how you doing, my man? He says 4 years is not enough time to get rid of Pelosi alone. Well, yeah, maybe, I guess, yeah. I don't think he realized. I don't think Trump fully understood how things worked, how the system worked in Washington. He needed time to learn. And then the pandemic hit, and just all these different factors came into play. And as a result, we didn't get the results that we were looking for, right? But some of these key issues, this is where I take exception, especially on social media, censorship. He could have taken care of that. And it was one of the most important things. And he just didn't do it. Just didn't do it. Yeah, I know, Leo. Facebook cut us off. I don't know why. I'm pretty sure I know why. It's because it's news and Trump and stuff, and they just hate us. And they're as bad as the government, and the government's as bad as them. And that's what I keep saying. There's no good option. There's no winning with these guys. So I'm kind of at a point with the whole Facebook thing where it's like, whatever, man. Like what are you supposed to do? You're blocked. You're not blocked. You have access to. They blocked us. I couldn't post for a month. For what? I didn't do anything. Didn't do anything wrong. They hammered me, like all of our back videos for like 2 years, copyright issues. Copyright. I was using royalty. It doesn't matter. We did nothing wrong, and they've just crushed us. Just because. And they didn't need the government to do it, but I'm sure the government's behind it. And regardless of the reasons, just like the wildfires, it's out of control. Okay? So what are we going to do about it? I don't know. I'm not going to worry too much about it. They cut us off. Okay? Thank you. I shouldn't have been broadcasting on there. You don't want us. So why are we there? Why are we there? Just because the audience is there, because you guys are there, because other people are there, because we still want access to the audience. That's why we're there. If we get people to move over to Rumble, we don't have to be there anymore. And we're largely not. Now we have shifted, right? And yeah, Nurse D says, Rick, bite your tongue, dude. Yeah, I know. I know. I'll take Trump over Biden any day. I'll still take him over Biden any day, any day. And Jordan says the algorithms shut it down. Very likely could be. There you have it. Censorship in action, in real time, right here. You just saw it happen. That's not like conspiracy. That's not, faking anything. This just cutting the feed again, just shutting us down. They just cut the feed. Cut it. For what? What did we do wrong here tonight? Not a thing. We did nothing wrong. Cut the feed. That's where we're at. August 21st, 2023, 8:52 p.m. Censorship land. Pisses me off. My whole life, my whole career, I got into journalism because I believed in the importance of a free media, of freedom of speech. Always been an integral part of what makes me up as a person. Hold it. It's one of the most important things to me as a human being. To me, it's the cornerstone of freedom, real freedom. Without that, we're lost. And here I am right now. They just cut off our damn Facebook feed because they're censorious bastards. What are we going to do about it? just take it off. Stop sending me the message. I know they cut it. I know they cut it. It's coming up on my screen over and over again. I know it's fine. Go ahead, cut us off, whatever. It's disgusting too. It's disgusting. Forgive them, for they know not what they do. Yet I sit here tonight and I say, seek not vengeance. That is not the right path. Seek to correct. Remember, don't forget. Somehow I will forgive. Don't know how. I'll find a way. But yesterday, when I was out shopping for wedding stuff, I was going through that old mall. There were certain stores that I wouldn't go into because I remembered what happened during the lockdowns and with the height of the mask mandates and all of that stuff. And when we came back into town, the grocery store, I won't mention which one. Try to be nice. My wife likes to shop there. I said, I won't go in. Will not. Because of the way they treated people. Won't spend any money in there. She's free to do what she wants. I will not go in the place. Refuse. Because I remember. And there are other places where I will go because of the way they treated people, which was like real people. They treated people like people. I remember. Wasn't long ago. Many of us have already forgotten, it seems. But there are some places I just won't go again. I remember. And even though, in a way, I forgive because I understand people were scared, there's still no excuse. So they don't get my money. They don't get my support. I'll forgive them on a human level, but I'm not going in. Not now, probably not ever. I remember. Because it wasn't right. Still not right. And I pray that this time Alex Jones is wrong and that these mask mandates and lockdowns and things are not coming back next month, I hope. Please, God, don't. Please don't. And yet I know, because of what they just did to Rhonda, they've learned nothing. The only thing Trudeau's learned is to lie better. Standing up there tonight, telling us he cares about journalism, the free media, and freedom of speech. Liar. Disgusting. Wow. I'm going to have more to say about this in the nights ahead. And as we navigate toward whatever is coming in September, and we all know there are things coming in September. September is going to be a hot month, and I'm not talking about climate change. And whether we're looking at Ukraine or what's happening right here on the domestic front, I pray for peace. God, I hope there's peace. I really do. Gets us to 8:59, 60 seconds away from 9 p.m. Eastern. We're going to keep fighting for real freedom by continuing to advocate for freedom of speech, freedom of media. Support us. Help us. Donate at freedomreporters.com. Or at maverickdonations.com. And if you can't afford to because things suck for you, then don't send me any money. If you can, that's great. If you can't, please don't. Because I know times are tough out there for a lot of people. What you can do is like, share, subscribe, of course, and make sure you subscribe over on Rumble. Screw Facebook. I mean it. Like, I don't mean to boycott it because the Friends of Canadian Broadcasting are asking you to boycott it so they can shore up support for the big corporate government bought and paid for mainstream legacy media so they can exert their power and take over the social media platforms through regulations. Screw that. I mean, just screw them. They're making themselves irrelevant anyway by purging all of the relevant content, everything that is important to people. News, information, stuff they just don't like, things they don't agree with, whatever the government tells them has to be purged. No problem, Joe. Yes, sir, just Mr. JT. We'll do it for you. Screw them. You got to say screw them at some point. Trump should have said screw him when he had the chance. Look where he's at now. He's got some problems. We've all got problems. Real problems. I'm going to be back here tomorrow at 6 p.m. Eastern Time. And I'm going to keep fighting. And I'm going to keep working on coming up with solutions. I'm going to try to provide information that will help guide us all in a way that gets us closer to the truth. It gets us somehow back to a place where we right this ship. Find a way to restore our rights and freedoms. That's my goal. Maybe talk more about setting up this group. We've been talking about it behind the scenes too, so more to come on that front. So until then, folks, stay safe out there. Keep fighting for freedom. Don't give up hope. Don't let all these people who want to scare the crap out of you with these wildfires, don't let them scare you. just so they can tax you more, or just so they can exert some political influence or get whatever it is that they think they can get out of you. It's going to be okay. It's going to be okay. It will. It's going to be okay.
This has been a Maverick Multimedia production.